All right, welcome back to another edition of LowBallers following the championship week in college football. This week we are sponsored by Planet Hollywood Hotel Resorts and Casino Las... What's that? Oh. Planet Hollywood is not a sponsor yet. I'm Tim.
I'm Steven. And this is LowBallers. You watch the Big 12 championship this week?
It was at varying levels of sobriety, but I made it through and I did watch the whole thing, yes.
Man, that fourth quarter got a little tight there. I got a little worried. I've never seen a coach flip out that hard.
There's a meme that I saw about OU this year, and it was so accurate. It was like, OU fans in the first quarter, OU fans in the second quarter, and in the third quarter we're still mad, in the fourth quarter like, oh, okay, we won. So that's been accurate. OU has dominated the first quarter the whole year, and then kind of let teams back in it a little bit. And earlier in the year that cost us. We blew a big lead against Kansas State, not a big lead, but a lead against Iowa State.
I think that had more had to do with the running game, though.
Yeah, and then so now we're still doing that as far as letting teams back in it, but at least now we're winning the game. So if we do that against Florida, I'll be fine with it. Like, just one more. I don't care how we do it. Just get us the win.
Let's get us the W. Hey, that's 6 Big 12 championships. That's impressive. That's the most straight conference champions for any team.
How would you wear your 6 rings? Would you go 5-1, or would you go 3-3?
I would put 2 on the pinky and 1 across. That way I can show it all in one hand.
Nothing says Mississippi pimp quite like having two pinky rings. So.
Hey, go big or go home. It makes it look bigger. If I get it on my thumb, it doesn't look that big.
So, what's our first subject? You want to talk about conference championship games, or what do you want to talk about?
You want to talk about the playoffs coming up, the NCAA playoffs, and how Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and
yeah, let's talk about conference. Let's talk about what led to those real quick. What jumped out at you? Anything surprised you, or did you see what you thought you might see?
I mean, Florida gave Bama a better game than I thought, and I guess Notre Dame was a lot worse than I thought. I had them picked to win. I thought they were going to come out and shell out, but that was embarrassing.
I had to respect the effort from Northwestern in the Big Ten championship. They kept that a game for a really long time. In the end, Ohio State was just a deeper team with more athletes and too much Trey Sermon, and they just won the game in the end. So I'm with you. I thought that Alabama, it was one of my picks last week. I thought Alabama was just going to roll over Florida. I fully expected Florida to play better than they did against LSU, but not good enough to hang with Alabama. And there were a couple times where Alabama had them on the ropes, and it felt like Alabama was about to pull away. But Florida, give them credit. They hung in there. They made a game out of it. I told everybody last week, and the phrase I used, and I'll use it again here, that Notre Dame had everyone in the country hoodwinked, bamboozled, and run amok. I don't think they're any good. I know they beat Clemson, but Clemson was missing not only Trevor Lawrence, but defensive starters. I just think that Notre Dame's a good, not great team.
So you don't think they hang with Bama at all?
No, I don't. But that being said, I think the bowl games are going to be hard to predict because there was no interconference play this year, and so maybe the whole SEC wasn't quite as good as we thought, or maybe the ACC was the best conference and nobody knew it until now. You really don't know. I do think Alabama and Clemson are going to play for the title. I'm going to pick Clemson to beat them, and I can't believe I hear myself saying that. I penciled Alabama in as a national championship, but I do think this is a bad year for those people out there who want to see somebody other than Alabama or Clemson. I think that is what you're going to get for the championship game, and I think Clemson wins a close one.
I think Clemson wins by far. I think Clemson beats them by 14. I think Goldilocks has it. Matt Jones has looked great, but he doesn't have the pedigree. And I've just seen Dabo Swinney beat him 2-1. Like, they played each other 3 times in the national championship. Dabo's beat him twice. Like, I like Nick Saban, but he's got it clicking over there. And their defensive coordinator is an absolute stud.
And he
used to coach here.
This week informed Clemson he will be returning. He's not going to interview. The speculation was he might take the now open Auburn position, and the word on the street is he has informed Clemson he won't be doing that. So it looks like Brent Venables is back as a defensive coordinator, and that makes me wonder, is he just more comfortable in that position? Does he want to be a head coach, or is there a specific job he's hoping, he wants that job, or a similar job like it, he's just going to wait until something that's perfect opens up? I don't know.
Maybe he's the coach in waiting that no one knows about. Yeah. But I heard Grinch was taking an interview at Arizona today.
That's been
speculation.
Yeah, there was some people saying that didn't happen. I don't know that I think that if I'm Alex Grinch, I take that job. as an OU fan, I don't think we have him much longer. But, I think Alex Grinch has put himself in a position where by waiting one more year, he can make several million more dollars by getting a better job than what Arizona is. And to be honest, I don't know that they have the tools you need to compete long term, even in the Pac-12. Even though Alex Grinch is a great coach, and he's proven that. I just think he might be better served to wait one more year. Again, whether or not he takes the Arizona job, I don't think he's at OU very much longer.
I think he could have asked Mike Stoops about that, see how it worked out for him.
The caveat would be unless Lincoln Riley, if Lincoln Riley gets the itch and goes to the NFL, then maybe we do have him longer as the head coach. So, and again, I say that having no idea what Alex Grinch wants to do with his life or what Lincoln Riley wants to do with his. So
I hear the Jets are going to have a spot open at the end of the year, so maybe Lincoln Riley can go there. Although they're not going to have the quarterback of their dreams, so I can't believe the Jets won this week. First victory.
Yeah, let's toast the Jets. Good Lord. They're going out, not just a victory, but a victory over the Rams.
Yeah.
The Rams might be going to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's incredible. So
the Rams have a really nice team, offense and defense, but they got after not Nick Foles. I always want to say Nick Foles.
Jared Goff.
They got after Jared. I got Nick Foles on my brain because I hate that guy so much. They got after Jared Goff. They got after him really hard, and I'm gonna guess that it was the defensive coordinator that is to be accountable for the last 14 losses.
Well,
it's Greg Williams' fault.
One of two huge upsets this week: the Bengals on Monday night.
Who dat?
Really? I mean, came out and jumped all over the Steelers. It looked like a mismatch, in which you expected the game to be a mismatch, but maybe not in that direction. So
it's that juju dance. You just gotta drop it, man. It's over.
So that leads me to the question: is this just an upset, or are the Steelers not for real? I mean, they went 11-0, but are they not for real?
Ben Roethlisberger looks like he's wore out. Like he doesn't have it anymore. Like I always said that Drew Brees was a great quarterback until he got to like week 13 because I felt like his arm got too tired.
Yeah. And
maybe Ben Roethlisberger finally hit that wall. And it's like week 8 because that guy doesn't treat his body as good. I'll tell you that right now.
There's that, and then there's the fact that they're basically asking him to do everything. There's no running game. The offensive line has been not good at all, and so they're going to play the Colts this week, and the Colts have been showing out very, very well, and so. Let's just say that they lose to the Colts, and you would think that the Browns are going to beat the Jets. That sets up a final week matchup for the division. So that's something to keep an eye on this week. What happens in those two games? I really think the Browns will handle their business against the Jets, but let's see what happens in that Steelers-Colts game because, again, we could be talking about a division being on the line. So.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I haven't been a believer in the Browns, but they're starting to turn me around a little bit. Baker Mayfield's looking great. That running game is phenomenal. Defense is decent. Like they've been hitting on all cylinders.
The defense has been situationally good. I think that there's been times where they haven't looked great, and there's been times where they've done, but they seem to be doing just enough. And on offense, I think I've said this before. They're to the point now where you can put 8 in the box to stop Nick Chubb, and Baker's going to carve you up, or you can drop back into coverage, but then you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt running all over you, and so. It's a pick your poison kind of thing, and I don't know that there are very many teams out there that have a defense that's going to slow the Browns down very much. I mean, 84% passing. I know the Browns only scored 20 points this week, but I think that was more a function of they only had 7 possessions in the game. It was a very slow, methodical game, and why take chances? They were in complete control of that game. So.
Yeah, you don't want to get somebody injured. You can just they had the Giants against the ropes the entire game.
So, I mean...
Colt McCoy, though. How about that OU-Texas rivalry there?
Colt McCoy has... I'm not going to say a lot of great things about him, but there's something to be said about having as long of an NFL career as he's had. And he's done that by being a very good pro and being dependable. And he played a good enough game as a backup quarterback. I mean, he showed why he's a backup. He's not a starter in the NFL, but he's good enough to be on the roster still. And you got to give him props for that. It's been a while he's been in the NFL. So.
I mean, he's definitely no Mitch Trubisky. That guy's been balling out the last couple of weeks, and I feel bad for everything I've ever said about him, except for that one interception at the end of the fourth with 2 minutes left. I don't get that. Those are the things that upset me so much. How are you going to throw the pick then?
It's little things, and that's what held Baker back. He played a good game within the little things. He threw a couple ill-advised passes and put his team out of a game.
There's a lot more than a couple.
So, we also had the Chiefs going on the road to beat the Saints.
which started off as a blowout.
I think in the AFC, I mean, you're picking the Chiefs right now to win the conference, right? I mean, the Chiefs are your Super Bowl representative.
It's them or Buffalo. Buffalo's looking really good, and I've been a Buffalo Dogger for the last 4 weeks, but man, putting 40 points up on a Vic Fangio defense, that's pretty solid. And trust me, he was the Bears defensive coordinator. I know how good he is.
And that game was at Mile High. Am I right about that? So
and on a Thursday night, which is supposed to be the night that no one scores. You always take the Thursday night under because it's what they tell you.
Not an easy place to play as a road team. So you got to give credit to Buffalo on that one. And on that note, I mean, you got Josh Allen, you've got Baker Mayfield, Lamar. What a class of quarterbacks this turned out to be. So
and it's supposed to be one of the worst. Yeah, the one that was supposed to be the prize possession, Sam Darnold, is the one that's going to get traded probably.
Yeah, and so on that note, the Jets have now lost their hold on the number 1 pick. If they lose out and Jacksonville loses out, then Jacksonville's now the number 1 pick. And if I'm Jets at 2, I don't know that I make a pick at 2. There's just so many things they need that I might go ahead and trade back and see if I can get some more assets in exchange for that pick.
I mean, you saw how much that Robert Griffin got, whenever they traded away that big. So, I mean, yeah, the Jets definitely could trade back, fill up their line a little bit better. I mean, they have 2 or 3 picks already. I think they have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds already this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can definitely stack up more. And
yeah, I might go ahead and try to get some more assets and see if adding some assets improves. I mean, you can say Sam Darnold hasn't played well, and you might be right, but who's helped him? Their best offensive skill position player is Frank Gore. So
I will say this. I feel like Adam Gase was known as the quarterback whisperer because of the whole Peyton Manning thing. Mm-hmm. But I think seeing Ryan Tannehill play in the last year, 2 years, it's shown that he isn't the quarterback whisperer because he looks phenomenal. He's one of the top 10 quarterbacks right now. Ryan Tannehill is absolutely dissecting people.
Well, one way to solve that would be to draft Trevor Lawrence because he can make anybody look like a quarterback whisperer. So trade up. Then we don't trade back, like I said. Trade back up to number 1 and get Trevor Lawrence, and then you'll look like a genius.
I don't think Jacksonville's going to let it up, man.
I wouldn't either.
If I was Trevor Lawrence, I'd rather go to Jacksonville. That weather's really nice.
So you're saying you'd rather have Trevor Lawrence than Minshew Mania?
I mean, there's certain aspects of Minshew. Like, if I had to go party with one of them,
right.
Minshew all day.
No doubt.
The dude broke his own hand, so he can come back another year.
He could throw a football a quarter mile. So.
And those Daisy Dukes, they're fired.
Well, I'm stumbling over my words now, so get us on to the next subject. What else do we want to talk about? Playoffs.
Okay, let's talk about playoffs.
So, Clemson and Alabama, I think there's no argument, right? There couldn't be a case made that says one of those 2 teams shouldn't be in.
No.
You get past that, you got Ohio State only played 6 games. Notre Dame is coming off a beatdown, 34-10 against Clemson. Texas A&M has already gotten a beatdown. I had a funny run-in with one of my friends is actually a Texas A&M alum, and he told me that Notre Dame is going to prove they don't belong in the playoffs because Alabama is going to blow them out. And I was like, so you're saying if Alabama blows you out, you don't belong in the playoffs? I don't know that works out well for you.
But they got a much better resume than Notre Dame. I mean,
yeah, I thought that both teams had very flawed resumes.
I think every team has a flawed resume at this point. Though.
They both have equally good of a loss. They both got blown out by a very good team.
Yeah.
Then you go down to the best win, and Notre Dame beat North Carolina pretty handily. That was a pretty easy win for them. And then Texas A&M had a field goal win over Florida. The jury's still out on how good Florida is. Their offense certainly has been proving itself.
All right.
So, I think we're going to find out a lot more about Florida when they play Oklahoma. I think we'll find out a lot about Oklahoma when they play Florida.
I mean, Florida has athletes. That's one thing they have. That's kind of my fear with OU going against them because, man, those receivers, they just look like a different world class over there.
So, fortunately for OU, Kyle Pitts, the best pass catcher Florida has, will not be playing in the I mean, I don't know if you would call it fortunate. It'd kind of be fun to see how they stack up against him. But on the other side of that, Oklahoma's Mr. Big Play, Trey Brown, will also be sitting out. And what a career he's had at OU as far as big plays go. He had a safety against Sam Ehlinger in the Big 12 Championship, which helped seal that game off. The next year, he had that rundown, which Baylor was about to win that championship, and Trey Brown saved the day. Then yesterday, the walk-off interception, which all this is to say nothing of the fact that he also had the game-clinching interception in the 4 overtime game against Texas. So what a huge career. And I bet if we went and looked, we could find some more. I mean, the guy just seems to come up clutch when OU really needs him. So hopefully we win the game by 21 points and we don't need a Clutch play because our Mr. Clutch isn't playing. So let's toast Trey Brown. I mean, goodness,
Trey Brown.
Yeah, Trey Brown.
What a great career. See you in the pros.
So who's a player from the NFL that you would want to toast? Or maybe it can be college also.
I'm going to go with David Montgomery. He's had 3 games of over 100 rushing yards. The Bears finally got a running game, and it's definitely showing out. He's everything I thought he would be when he came out of Iowa State. The guy has the most broken tackles in the NFL. He's been knocking off 80-yard runs, 30-yard runs. He's been playing amazing. And the Bears have really missed the running game, and now we finally got it. I don't miss Jordan Howard anymore.
So after the Bears are in like 3rd and 40, he gets an 80-yard run, and you guys still get the first down. That's good. That's good.
He does it all.
So for 2 weeks in a row, you've toasted a Bears player. So there's you can see Steven struggle here to try to keep the Bears relevant.
We're gonna make the playoffs. So we just gotta win the next 2 games.
They're 7-7. I thought the Bears had been written off and were done, and all of a sudden here they come, the Fighting Mitch Trubisky's. They're back.
Yeah, resurrected from the dead.
Well, since we already toasted Trey Brown, that would have been a good one. I will toast Baker Mayfield. What a game against the. You know what? I'm going to change that whole thing. I'm going to toast Lincoln Riley for his quarterback development. Because if you didn't see OU's quarterbacks this weekend, check it again. OU had 4 quarterbacks take a snap in the NFL. Yes, I am shamelessly counting the 2-yard run that Blake Bell got from the quarterback position.
Where's he playing that now?
Dallas.
I didn't even know that.
They ran the bulldozer. So, yeah, Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts put on a game for the ages there, and they had a great. Jalen Hurts, even though the Eagles didn't win, showed out very well, very, very well. And in typical Jalen Hurts fashion, after the game, was like, "I don't want to talk about how good I played. We didn't win the game." You love Jalen Hurts for that, though. Again, he's just out there saying all the right things.
You think he was out in the weight room putting up like 500?
No doubt. He extra bench press because you didn't win. So, and then Baker Mayfield comes out and only throws 5 incomplete passes against the Giants. Just locked in. I mean, and again, it's what I say. If you choose to take away the run, that's fine. You're going to have to deal with Baker Mayfield. If you choose to take away Baker Mayfield, that's fine too. You got to deal with the run now. So
you only put 8 in the front of the back. You can't stack.
Everybody only gets 11. So
right.
Baker Mayfield and David Montgomery.
Cheers.
Lincoln Riley, I should say. Okay, so before we go to Vegas every week, we talk about our previous trip to Vegas. Who was your lock of the week last week?
I took OU minus the 5, and it covered. So
nice.
I've been hitting my locks pretty good.
In that same game, I took the OU under, as I always do, and it covered also. So
and you could have parlayed them and just got 2.5.
So for those of you keeping score at home, for the 3rd straight week, 2-0 on the locks. Watch this channel. Bet our locks. Cash checks. That's how it works. That's the process.
That's a good chunk of change right there. That's 6 picks. $100 a bet. That's $600. And then if you want, you can send some of that back.
We will have a Venmo link in our description this week, and that's only because we are reviewing, talking about our whiskey every week, and so if you want us to review a whiskey for you, I'll be doing more in-depth reviews from here on out. We'll have a separate video for that actually. It'll be one of those things where it's like, click the link. So I'll be doing full whiskey reviews. This week we're drinking Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. Might be my favorite whiskey. A perfect whiskey if you like to wake up and drink whiskey with your breakfast, which I think we all do. So has a maple syrup, almost like a toast taste to it. Very, very good. So I highly recommend it. $55 a bottle, so it's not cheap, but it's worth the price. Who's your shock of the week?
I took Notre Dame on that money line. Don't bet my shocks.
We've been hit or miss on our shocks. I mean, sometimes you hit yours and sometimes I hit mine, but it was very hit or miss. I took the Fighting Ron Swansons plus the 6 against Tampa Bay. It wasn't that they were very shocking, but they did cover the 6.
They did.
I'm sorry, they didn't play Tampa Bay. They played Seattle. They were plus 6 against Seattle, lost by 5. 5 is less than 6, so that's a win. So I'm 2-0. Steven's 1-1. Who are your other 3 picks?
I also took Tampa Bay minus 5.5.
That should have covered. It didn't. It was a loss, but they took a half off and still almost came back and covered that for you.
Man, if they could just play the second half like the first half, they'd have won by 100. It was seriously reminiscent of the Super Bowl. The only good news is that they put up so many points in the second half that I covered my over, which was my other bet. So they did cover the 49.5.
So now you're 2-2. So this game, did you have a winning week?
No, I took New England plus 2, and yeah, Belichick didn't beat the rookie QB. I thought he would. I think everyone kind of did. And I just kind of fell into the lull of him being 8-0. So
speaking of teams we got to take seriously a little bit more than we have been, how about those Dolphins? Not only are they set to maybe go to the playoffs, but they have a top 10 pick next year due to the trades they've made. So they're going to be stacking up some assets here. So.
Yeah, Dolphins look solid. They're probably the best coached team in the NFL. I mean,
I'd probably give that to the Bills.
He's pulling that Belichick mantra. I don't know. The Bills got talent over there. I can't.
That
name
staff
many
from top to
players
bottom. That staff is doing very well. The Browns, Bills, and like you say, the Dolphins are some of the new-ish coaching staffs that have just been killing it. So,
yeah.
Okay, so that takes us to my picks, and I had Alabama minus the 17, and this will be a good time for the Price is Right. There were times where it looked like they were going to cover. They were starting to pull away, but like I said, Florida just kind of kept coming back and hanging in there and being a nuisance to both Alabama and myself. So now I'm 2-1. And then I took the over in the Green Bay and Carolina game. And I said all I needed was a little bit from Carolina, and I got it. Green Bay raced out. They were scoring at will. Boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, they just kind of stopped. So
it in, man.
That didn't help me.
Aaron Rodgers brought back a little belt, though.
They did win the game, but they did not score enough points to cover my over. So that their winning the game was a little satisfaction to me. So now I'm 2-2, and I'm also needing a win for a winning week. And unlike you, I did get it as I took the opposite side of the Notre Dame-Clemson game, and Clemson just boat raced Notre Dame. That was never a game.
Yeah, it was over quick. It was over before it started.
And I think that we'll see the same fate when they play Alabama, and we see the same fate as far as your attempt to get back the cash money necklace, which stays in a trifle home. I'm 3-2. I was 3-1 last week. This is my third straight winning week. They come to me, Stephen. The people, they all come to me and they say, Tim, we need these epic plays that you carry around in your pocket like so many nickels and dimes. So, again, watch the show. Bet our locks, for sure. Bet the locks. But, this week we split as a team. We went 3-3. But always bet the locks. And we're up for the season. I'll get us we'll put our total up here at some point.
Yeah, I'll make sure to stack all the locks of the week of the century up there.
Stone Cold. That was Scott Van Pelt used to do that. Scott Van Pelt, by the way, if you haven't seen his little segment, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he used to have a great segment when he did his sports pick. He would lead in with Mike Singletary talking about, I want winners! And then he would have the pick at the end would be his Stone Cold Lock of the Century of the week. All right, so now that we've recapped last week's, and now we find out that the cash money necklace stays where it belongs, let's talk about this week's picks. Who is your lock of the week?
My lock of the week this week is... You caught me off guard. Hold on. Okay, cool. Let me rephrase.
Who's your lock of the week this week?
Lock of the pick... I don't know.
Mother.
I know, right? Okay.
So, now that we've talked about the picks last week, who's your lock of the week this week?
It's a cardinal sin, and I shouldn't do it, but I'm going to go with the Bears over Jacksonville minus 7.5. And I know it's a lot of points to give up, but I can't. I don't know how they're going to score on that defense. That defense is on fire. I feel like Minshew's going to get ate up by Khalil Mack and Akeem and...
It is a lot of points, but I think
Roquan.
What you have going for you, I think one team's fighting for their playoff lives, and the other team, I don't even know if they want to win. So
yeah.
It definitely sets up to win. It's not one of my picks, but it is a great pick.
But yeah, that's my lock. What's your lock?
My lock of the week. I've got my picks written down. Okay, let's go with this. The Cleveland Browns. I hate picking my own teams, but
we're both picking our teams.
Sometimes I'll pick the total in my team's games, but I usually don't take a side. But the Jets won their first game of the season last week. I think they probably had their worst week of practice this year, and they haven't had very many good weeks. Meanwhile, the same thing. The Browns are fighting for the division. They need this win. They're going to come out focused. I think the Browns win this game pretty big. I think I'm going to call it something along the lines of 28-10, like a convincing win. So
you think it's going to be like a revenge game for Sam Darnold, being like, "Oh, Bake, you're drafted ahead of me."
I don't think Sam Darnold has anybody to throw the ball to help him in that. So, I think the Jets are going to get better. I don't think they're going to have the same coaching staff next year. But I just think this week there's a motivation difference. The Jets just got their monkey off the back. The Browns are fighting for their lives. The Browns are already better than the Jets. Yeah. The only setback is the Browns are playing on the road again, so we'll see how that shakes out. But I'm confident in the pick. It was between that. I'm going to take one of my later picks is going to be the Rams, and so I was between those two as my lock, but I'll stick with the Browns. So now we got our locks of the week. Who's your shot?
I am going to go with San Francisco over Arizona. Arizona's actually fighting for a playoff spot too right now, and kind of fighting for the division. But I just they get handled by San Francisco, and I would honestly take San Francisco on the money line. It's just one of those games. I don't know why or what, but they choke against them.
Plus 4.5. I have the same shock. I just think that in that division, if you follow the NFC West, there's an interplay of, well, this team always beats that team, but this team always beats in this game. For whatever reason, the Niners always seem to win the game. So I'm going to agree with you on the shock there. So go ahead and give us 3 more picks, and we'll round out our 5 picks of the week.
All right, my other 3 picks. I'm going to take the Raging Cajuns minus 14 against UTSA, just because I felt like I needed a bowl game in there, and I like the Raging Cajuns name, and I feel like they definitely put up a better offense. UTSA is an okay basketball school right now, but they're just not that good of a football school. I'm going to take Chargers minus 3 because I feel like beating the Raiders last week was a stepping stone for them, and it's going to just give them more confidence to kind of roll forward. And I just kind of feel like Denver has to be in their own feelings right now after getting beat by 40 against Buffalo. Like, that was embarrassing. And I don't. Drew Lock reminds me of Jay Cutler. Like, he never seems like keyed in. Like, he just seems like such a slouch 24/7. And he has no reason to want to win. And then I'm going to take Philly. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts against Dallas because I hate the Cowboys. And I feel like Philly has something going with Jalen Hurts right now. I know they just lost to Arizona, but they love their backup quarterbacks over there. I saw what Nick Foles did with them, and now I'm seeing what Jalen Hurts is doing with them, and they love their backup quarterbacks. On that note, if you want to send Carson Wentz our way, we'll try him out. And maybe Nick Foles back for him.
And cut! I have to look it up. But I actually have watched an entire UTSA game this year. I came away very impressed by the running back, but I can't remember his name. Okay, since you're in the corner. So I like the Raging Cajuns pick. Hold on. Back in. I like the Raging Cajuns pick. They are playing UTSA. I will say this. Sincere McCormick, I believe it or not, I did sit down and watch an entire UTSA football game this year. They played North Texas. I like their running back, Sincere McCormick. I like the Raging Cajuns better. So yeah. I do think it's a good pick. But if you do sit down to watch that game to see Steven, he might win this game. He's obviously not going to win the gold chain back. But come on.
It's my time. I do.
But if you do sit down and watch the game, I do think he's going to win. But watch Sincere McCormick. He's worth the watch. So the games I had, I'm agreeing with you on the Eagles. I've taken some. That's not common for us to have the same pick twice. So I am taking the Eagles. Plus 1.5 against the Cowboys. Okay.
Yeah.
And for the second straight week, I am taking the Fighting Ron Swansons, the Washington football team. They are minus, can you believe it? After the way their year started, they are minus 1.5, or minus 1, just minus 1, against Carolina. So I love that pick.
Is it at Carolina or is that Washington?
I believe it's at Carolina. I couldn't swear to it.
That might be a good pick. Carolina doesn't have a lot of strip clubs that people want to go to.
And I just think that, the pass rush against a not super experienced quarterback, I think there's going to be some turnovers, or at least some big negative plays. I think Washington wins that game. I'll say by 8 or 9 points. So, and then finally, why can't I remember my picks? And then finally, I have the Rams against Seattle. I know that's probably a non-conventional pick. The Rams just lost to the Jets. Now they're playing Seattle. I will say this. Seattle is playing much better recently. They've gotten Jamal Adams back. Carlos Dunlap has solidified their defensive line.
That defense became a top 10 defense since week 8. They've been playing great.
But I will say this. Back to what I was saying before. In the interplay of this conference, the Rams seem to beat the Seahawks. So I will go with the Rams. Again, I almost made this my lock of the week. The Rams always seem to beat the Seahawks, and then you combine that with, you've got to think the Rams are going to have a just monster week of practice coming off a Jets loss.
I always feel like good teams have bounce back games. Bad teams don't. And I feel like it is a bounce back game. It's probably a good pick.
I like to give props, by the way. You know, we're here, sitting here doing sports talk, and I'm not going to sit here and act like we don't watch sports talk and then I don't take notes from it. Colin Cowherd gave me that piece of advice. Anytime you see a good team have a horrible game, think about taking them the next week. And so that also plays into this pick. So we'll see who gets the cash money necklace next week, and we'll see you then. Again, if you think you can beat us, if you want your own cash money necklace, give us 5 picks down in the comments. And if you beat whoever wins between the two of us, then I will send you your very own cash money necklace. Until then, cheers.